Great. So welcome to the League of Women Voters of Massachusetts Town Hall Part 2. We're going to be discussing supported and opposed legislation for the 25-26 session. This program is being recorded. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides. Great. Thanks for bearing with me for 1 second. Great. Thanks. Thanks so much. So first, we're going to cover our community norms. We want everyone to join us in being respectful, assume positive intent, but understand impact, bring your full self and limit distractions, use the chat feature to ask questions during Q&A, and you can message staff with private comments and concerns. So our agenda for tonight, we're going to be discussing what the Legislative Action Committee does, our mission. We're going to talk about the legislation webpage, supported opposed legislation for this session. We're going to spotlight some bills. We're going to talk about taking action. We're going to discuss Day on the Hill. We're going to offer contact info and resources, and we're going to take your questions. So I'm first want to introduce myself. I'm Jen Miroff. I'm the chair of the Legislative Action Committee, and tonight we are so pleased to be with you to talk about our supported legislation this session. And we have a wonderful team of specialists with us tonight, and we're going to be talking about many of the bills that we're going to be covering. Before we start, I did want to address the literal and figural elephant in the room. I'm sure many of you have received the email from Diana Nguyen, the League of Women Voters of U.S. President today. She sends an update by email every other week, and Fiona's going to drop that into the chat. But the League of Women Voters of U.S. declared a constitutional crisis today, and there is a web page that Fiona will share, but also wanted to read from the press release. And I just want to get that open. So let's see, Selena Stewart, CEO of the League of Women Voters, and Diana Nguyen, President of the League of Women Voters, released the following statement today. It has now been 87 days since the start of the Trump administration. From the flagrant disregard for congressional authority and governmental checks and balances to defying Supreme Court orders to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back home, one thing is abundantly clear. Our country is in a constitutional crisis. We, the people, must fight back. That is why the League of Women Voters is launching a new initiative, Unite and Rise 8.5. So they go into more information there, and Diana also has some actions we can take, and I'll include those at the end of our discussion. But I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I just wanted to say how grateful I am to be in this fight with all of you. We are very dedicated activists, all of us across the membership from Cape Cod to the Berkshires, North Shore, South Shore, all of us are dedicated activists, and I could not be more honored to work with all of you. So thank you for being in this fight with us. So who is the Legislative Action Committee? So we are made up of an amazing team of dedicated activists working to drive advocacy work at the Massachusetts State House. So we all know that the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan and that we don't endorse political parties or candidates. However, we do take positions on issues, and through those positions, we advocate for human rights law and executive action at the Massachusetts State House. So we select and monitor 170 bills in 20 areas each 2-year legislative session. We submit written testimony and present oral testimony during committee hearings. We suggest advocacy actions that local leagues and members can take. We organize education events, and we're guided by LWVMA's program priorities set by convention, and we'll be doing that again in our convention in June. So by the numbers for last session, the last legislative session, we had 20 specialists. We followed 170 bills. We issued 24 action alerts. We submitted 89 testimonies to legislative committees. So that's when we submit written testimony in support of a bill to the joint committees. We attended 21 lobby days. We represented the League of Women Voters of Massachusetts in 18 coalitions, and we hosted 13 education events. And you can find this information in all the bills that were passed last session. So we had a lot of legislative wins last session, and Fiona's going to drop that link into the chat. So these are just some of the coalitions outlined here. Mass Rivers Alliance, I won't go through the whole list where we are really span a lot of areas. Transportation for All, Wage Equity Now, Feeding Our Neighbors are so many coalitions that we work with. And just a reminder, we will share this recording likely Tuesday. The office is going to be closed Friday and Monday. We'll share the recording and these slides. And the slides will have links. There'll be a PDF file, so you can just click on the links to the bills and links to resources and action alerts within the PDF. So how do we select bills? So these are our guideposts. So we want to answer the following questions when we decide to support a bill. So does the US, LWVUS or LWVMA have a position? That's the number one always. Do we have a position to support it or oppose the bill? Does it have broad policy implications across the Commonwealth? Does it have strong support from coalition partners? Can we be effective by adding our name? Do we have an obligation? You know, for example, elections and voting, we follow so many bills, we have to. That's our number one mission, empowering voters and defending democracy. We have an obligation to make sure we're supporting and or opposing as many elections and voting bills as possible. What's the likelihood of passage? Does it have any chance of passing? What was the status of the bill when it was finished last session? And do we have the people power? So we are comprised of 20 amazing, dedicated people who put so much time and effort and energy into their issues, but we don't always have enough people to do the work. So we'd love to have you on board. Right now, we're looking for a natural resources specialist. If you're interested in that topic area, please reach out. We'd love to have you join our team. So when we talk about positions, I just wanted to share, this is the LWVUS impact on issues. Those are our positions at the national level. And you can see the position where it says the league's position. Anything in bold is the position that we use. Anything in history, that's just giving you some background information on the national work that's been done throughout the decades in many cases, depending on the position, but the position itself is in bold here. And then the where we stand is the Massachusetts positions. And anytime that it says the league supports, that is the official position. So anytime it says the league supports, those are outlined there. And then when does the Legislative Action Committee act? So we select bills for the new session. So we select bills from January through May of 2025. We write and submit testimony. For example, Nancy Brumback has also already submitted testimony on a couple of bills. Lucy Kennedy has submitted one, Death with Dignity. So there have been hearings taking place already. So we write and submit testimony from May through September. That's when the joint committees are holding their hearings. We issue action alerts towards the end of the session when we have a bill that we want to get to the floor or we want a positive vote, yes vote, no vote. We issue action alerts around that time. We engage membership to contact legislators throughout the two-year legislative session. And right now is the FY26 budget process that's taking place April through June. So the House has released its version of the budget. Some of our bills are included as sections of the budget. So we're going to be advocating for those. So the House budget's taking place in April. The Senate will complete their version in May. Then it'll go through a conference process. So that's just another aspect where we're advocating. And we follow and monitor the legislature continuously through Mass Track, State House News Service, Commonwealth Beacon, Boston Globe, and social media. And when we're working with the legislature, these are the key asks. So when you have a specific ask, you're asking your legislator, can you officially co-sponsor the bill? Can you vote the bill favorably out of committee? That's typically in our written testimony. We urge a favorable report out of the joint committee. We want a favorable report out of the second committee. We urge you to bring the bill to the floor for a vote, and we want you to vote yes. So those are some of the key asks each stage of the legislative process. And so this is the Massachusetts Legislature homepage, malegislature.gov. And on the homepage, it's really chock full of information, but you can see all the upcoming hearings in the center. And just everything you need to know is here. I just wanted to show you the homepage. And then here's a more in-depth listing of all the hearings that are taking place. And after a hearing has finished, it's archived. So you can watch hearings that have already occurred. You just click on the archive there. And then here is our 25-26 league supported and opposed legislation webpage. So if you go to LWVMA.org and you click on the advocacy tab, the very first tab is this page. And Bryn did an amazing job. It looks gorgeous. She organized by section. And so you can see the bill number. So for example, the first one here, H216S136. So that's the bill number. And these are live links you can click, and those links will take you to the bill on the legislative website. And also, when we have summaries available, you can click on a summary, and the summary will give you just the basics about the bill, what a bill does, and what our positions are to support it. And also there's a link for testimony. So down here on the right, we already had this hearing, so Nancy Brumback has submitted written testimony. So you can click on this link for testimony. You can download it. You can just click on it to open a PDF file and read it. So testimony is our most important tool. The legislative staff for the committee read all of the testimony, and that is available on our website. Everything we submit to the legislature is available on our website. And just showing you the different sections here. Great. So some important notes about the bills that we follow. We continue to evaluate new bills through May. There are still bills to be determined for a climate emergency and transportation. And closer to Day on the Hill, we select 3 to 4 priority bills. Like we did last session, we focused on the firearms, voting access, maternal health, and so forth, PFAS as well. So on the webpage, they're listed in alphabetical order by topic area. And just a reminder that bill numbers do change throughout the legislative process. Every time there's a change made to a bill, it does receive a new number. So my hack is I just copy and paste the bill title into the search bar at malegislature.gov. And you can just look on the history tab and it'll show you you're in the right bill for sure. You have the right bill, but the numbers do change. So it can get a little confusing. But if you have any questions, you can just email one of us and we're happy to help you. And our support for bills carries over until passage. So once we support a bill, we support it until it passes. And with that, I will turn it over to Nancy Brumback.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to talk first about the election and voting bills. And I shared this job with Nell Forgas, but she had a conflict this evening, so she couldn't be here. So in the election and voting area, we're doing several bills, but the 3 that are on the screen are the ones that the Election Modernization Coalition is backing. All 3 were in a single bill last session. We're going to try them as separate bills and see if we have better luck this session. The first one is an act establishing same-day registration of voters. Jen mentioned we follow a bill until it passes. We've been following this bill for about 12 years. It hasn't passed yet. It gets support from the Senate every session, and it is blocked by the House Majority Leader who does not support this bill. So if you are anywhere in the neighborhood of a state rep, encourage that state rep to support this bill now. I kind of hope that with all the things going on nationally, that we might be able to persuade them that it would be good for the state to move in the other direction and do something positive on elections. So we'll see if we can do that. Quickly, the other 2 bills that the coalition is supporting is the bill that decouples the municipal census from voter registration. Voting, the right to vote should not be a carrot or a stick to get people to perform an administrative task. If you don't return your municipal census form, you can be put on the inactive voter roll. When you go to vote, you have to go over to a table. You get up to the table, they say, I'm sorry, you're on inactive status. You have to go to another table. You have to sign an affidavit, you have to show your identification, and then you can go back and vote. This is ridiculous. No other state does this. And the census goes to entire household. So whoever opens the mail, if they toss that in the recycle bin, every voter in their household is put on an active voter status. It is just stupid, and we need to stop doing that. And the third bill is to require the Secretary of State to check every polling place in the state for disability access at least once every 4 years. So they set up an inspection crew that would go around and do a quarter of the polling places every year. So those are the ones that we're focusing on in election and voting. If you look at the website, you can see the other bills that we're working on also in that area. And then I'm going to also put on my good governance hat. And the key bill in that area is going to be what is called the Location Shield Act. It's two bills with slightly different titles, but they say the same thing. So the overall name is Location Shield Act. This bill would prohibit cell phone companies in Massachusetts from selling location data to anyone that wants to buy it. And they collect location data off your phone as you wander around wherever you go. It is a major problem for a lot of people. Domestic violence survivors, their abusers or stalkers could buy this information and find out where they go and when they go and how long they stay at a place. People seeking reproductive health care or gender affirming care, particularly if they're coming from a state that does not allow that, they could be tracked using this data. Immigrants could be tracked using this data. And in the current climate, with the extreme groups we have on both sides of the political spectrum, a lot of individuals can just be tracked. People like judges and doctors and journalists and even election workers have been threatened and harassed just for doing their job. Public figures and politicians have become targets based on the positions they take. My local league in Sudbury, we had a request from a candidate in our local town election last month if we could take their home address off of our voters guide because they were worried about being harassed. We decided to take every candidate's home address off of our voters guide. There's even a bill in the legislature this session to remove the requirement to put candidate addresses on the ballot. This is the climate we live in. People who exercise their First Amendment rights, as we now know, to free speech by participating in rallies and marches and protests are targets. There are extremist groups who make lists of these people. And if their location data is available, that makes them even more of a target. So we hope this bill is going to be passed. Until it is, you might go to your cell phone, go to settings, find the location button and turn it off. You'll still be able to get maps and weather, but the phone won't track your data as well. One quick plug, Jen, before my time is up, H 3299 would require meetings that are subject to the open meeting laws in towns to be conducted in a hybrid format with both in-person and remote access and the ability to participate remotely in in board and committee meetings in towns that are covered by the open meeting law. Otherwise, the law is likely to allow them to have remote participation, but not require it. And I think these days and times, people are used to and want to be able to participate in a school committee meeting remotely. So those are my two areas and my key bills. There are others, but these are the ones I'm mostly focusing on.
Great, thanks, Nancy. Awesome. And if you want to send the info on that other bill, I can pop it into the PDF. So everyone has
It just occurred to me, I wanted to throw that one in because I know people do care about the hybrid access to local meetings.
Absolutely, let's include
it. And we'll be after you to make that clear as the bill moves along.
Great. So I'm going to cover Lori Stewart's slide. Lori Stewart has a conflict tonight. However, she has been working tirelessly for years to pass access to council. So an act promoting access to council and housing stability in Massachusetts. There was a pilot program last year, and now we want to make it permanent. So let's see, the lead sponsors are Senator DiDomenico and Rep. Dave Rogers and Rep. Mike Day. It has 37 co-sponsors. We're looking to build support inside the dome, and we want to ask your senator and rep to co-sponsor the bills if they haven't already. And you can see who is co-sponsoring and use this fact sheet here to ask your senator and rep to co-sponsor. There's a link, so when you receive the PDF, you can just click on these links. And we have more than 240 organizations as supporters, and we're looking to build support outside the dome as well. So we're looking to ask groups in the area to support access to council by sending them this link, and groups can sign up online via this link. Go to what organizations are supporting access to council. So there's plenty of information. So there was an access to council pilot program that passed last year for $2.5 million. And now we want to increase that funding to 5 million and also make the program permanent. So why we need access to council: 1 in 4 kids living in poverty faces eviction by the age of 15. Mothers, especially single mothers and mothers of color, are being evicted far more frequently than others. And 9 out of 10 tenants facing eviction are unrepresented. And people really need the representation. Is so super important to winning their case and staying housed. And so there's a graph here about the imbalance of representation in Massachusetts eviction cases and the discrepancy between landlords and tenants. And you can see what a discrepancy it is, with 91.4% in calendar year 2024, landlords were represented, and only 4.3% of tenants. And we want to keep as many people at, house as we possibly can. And we know that access to council works. And so we're working hard to advance it this session. And thank you, Lori, for her hard work. And now we'll turn it over to Palma.
Hi, everyone. The bill that, well, actually, if you can see my pin today, I was at the Lift Our Kids event today at the State House. So that's a bill to get set a floor for poverty in Massachusetts. So good bill. It's been a carryover. We've had a lot of success. There's a little bit more. There's a 10% increase in the budget proposal. So it's a good day today for that. The bill I'd like to actually highlight is an act relative to controlling and abusive litigation. What this does is give judges tools to limit the ability for abusers to use the court to maintain contact and control over their victim. This is similar to anti-SLAPP, the Massachusetts anti-SLAPP law, which is strategic litigation to prevent public participation when those with more resources just kind of use the courts to wear you down. And in the cases of domestic violence and abuse, one of the ways they do is they will take their victims back to court repeatedly, change venues, continue to apply for custody changes or child support changes or visitation changes or heaven knows what. It's once an abuser loses direct contact to his victim, one of the only ways they can access them is through the courts or through things the courts control, like the custody. Last year, we had a fabulous success. Coercive control was added to the definition of abuse in Massachusetts. And part of coercive control is economic abuse and going back to court repeatedly forces a victim to deplete resources. They use discovery to find out, to track their people, their victims. If you go back to the location shield law that Nancy talked about earlier, this is one of the things they might actually have us turn them over. Where are they going? They can use discovery in the courts for that too. And they use children and everything like that. There is a study that was done in the Massachusetts courts, they found out actually 3/4 of child custody, child visitation, and child support flagged for indicators of domestic abuse on independent screening. So that's not the courts, that was academics and researchers and specialists going in and doing it. So these aren't high conflict, these are actually abuse. And the last point here, which is about post-traumatic stress disorder, this has come up a lot with the legislators. And the truth be told is that women suffer from post-traumatic stress at 2 to 3 times that of a combat veteran. So if you think about that, that's a lot of women struggling. And the thing about PTSD with combat veterans, they leave the battlefield, they come home where it is safe, and then they begin their recovery. And it takes about 1.5 years to get to some level of normalcy. What happens with an abuse victim is they leave, they go to the courts assuming that they will get some protection. Instead, they find they're in a new battlefield. And that battlefield, if you have young children, could go 18 years or more. Because as long as you have children together, they can keep bringing you back. And even when they leave the first situation, they're thrown into a second situation. And that PTSD that they suffer doesn't start to heal until after the court battle. So this bill gives judges a tool to say, okay, you're not going to do this to them. And very good bill.
Thank you, Palma. Next up, we have Nancy Bettinger.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you all for being here. I'm one of the criminal legal system specialists along with Leslie Nelkin, and the bill that I'm highlighting tonight is an act to reduce mass incarceration, which would effectively end life without parole sentences because it would give all incarcerated people a parole hearing after serving 25 years of their sentence. It wouldn't promise anyone at all that they would be granted parole, only a hearing. The bill would also require the Department of Corrections to establish a restorative justice program. These programs are really important because they help people who are affected by crime heal and move on with their lives. And they also, people who are responsible for crime, they have an opportunity to take responsibility for the harm that they've done and to apologize, which is an important part of their rehabilitation. Also, by passing this bill, the Commonwealth would eliminate these extremely long sentences, which really waste lives and human potential. In Massachusetts, we have more people serving life without parole sentences per capita of our state population than any other New England state, and quite a bit more than New York. And, you know, who thinks that Massachusetts has worse crime than New York? We would also be mitigating systemic racism in the criminal legal system. BU Law School recently reported that Black people in Massachusetts are 9 times more likely than white people to receive life without parole sentences, 9 times more likely. The Commonwealth would also be acknowledging that people can change and allow everyone to hope for a better future and give everyone incentive to participate in rehabilitative and educational programs. Also, it would limit the number of frail elders that are held in prison and really receiving inferior health care at a very high cost to the Commonwealth. I've skipped over a couple of points in the interest of time because I want to say something about the next slide. There's going to be a lobby day on April 23rd, and it's just for this bill. It's sponsored by the Campaign to End Life Without Parole. That's supposed to say CELWAP in parentheses. And there's no need to sign up ahead of time, but I really hope that anyone who's interested in criminal legal system reform can join us, because we're hearing from the State House that most legislators don't perceive criminal legal system reforms as being important to their constituents. The perception is that it's only important to, you know, a few of the really highly affected communities. And we really need to change that perception if we're ever going to get any movement on this. And really, we're all responsible for the system that we have, which has a lot of problems. We're all paying taxes for it. So I really hope that people can join us for this lobby day. And that's it.
Thank you, Nancy, for your work on this. Next up, Ellen Church has a conflict, so I'll cover this slide. Next up is an act establishing Medicare for all in Massachusetts, S860 H1405. Lead sponsors are Senator Jamie Eldridge and Rep. Lindsay Sabadosa and Rep. Margaret Scarsdale. This is universal single payer healthcare. We've been following it for a long time. It would reestablish healthcare as consumer driven, fiscally responsible entity with an independent consumer trust fund and funded in a way Massachusetts consumers will feel most comfortable. Ellen is going to host a Meet the Specialist event specific to this bill on April 30th, and we'll share that information on League Leaders as well, but she'll do a very deep dive into the Medicare for All bill on April 30th, and we hope to see you then. And now Amy Cooper.
Hi, everybody. My focus on the LAC are the immigration bills. And today I'm going to talk about an act to protect the civil rights and safety of all Massachusetts residents, also known as the Safe Communities Act. The purpose of this act is to protect immigrants' rights and access to justice by disentangling state and local law enforcement from the federal immigration system. And it does this in several ways. One way is it prohibits law enforcement personnel from asking people about their immigration status. This part of the bill is really important because it will help build trust between immigrant communities and the police so that people will feel more comfortable reporting crimes, domestic abuse, wage theft, all kinds of crimes without fearing a brush with the immigration enforcement authorities and deportation. The bill also protects due process rights. So before ICE, that's U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, before ICE can question somebody in custody, that person has to give consent and be informed of their rights. The Safe Communities Act also ends what's called 287G agreements. And these are contracts with ICE that actually deputize state and local law enforcement personnel to act as ICE agents. And this is all at Massachusetts taxpayers' expense. And the bill also limits notifications to ICE when a person is about to be released from custody. So the Safe Communities Act built on a 2017 ruling by the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court. You may have heard of it. It's called the Lund decision. And you see on the slide what it says. Provides no authority for Massachusetts court officers to arrest or hold an individual solely on the basis of a federal civil immigration detainer beyond the time that person would normally be released. The Safe Communities Act has been filed every session since 2017. However, given the last few months of the federal administration's assault on immigrant communities, there is new urgency to pass this bill and to have Massachusetts set its own clear policies. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about the federal immigration detentions that have been happening, but we can resist by taking a stand, and by passing the Safe Communities Act, we can commit to not enabling federal immigration enforcement and by protecting as many people as we can.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. And now I'll turn it over to Art.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm Art Desloges. My area is Meeting Human Needs, and I'm with the Plymouth League. And thank you, Amy. That was very compelling and a very important bill. The bill I'm going to present is an act to provide identification to youth and adults experiencing homelessness. What it does is it eases access to Massachusetts IDs, first by waiving the $25 fee, and then easing verification requirements because they don't have permanent residence. the shelter I volunteer at, sometimes we are able to give people the money to get an ID, but by having easing verification requirements make it a lot easier because everyone that's unhoused, an ID is critical to just life tasks. They want to apply for housing, they want to apply for employment, any kind of employment, enrolling in an education, even taking a library book out and accessing other essential services. It did pass in the session, the last four sessions. And we think, and with the right comprehensive advocacy campaign this session, we can get it passed in both houses. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Art. And now we'll turn it over to Felina.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Felina Silver, and I am the specialist for. Oh, sorry, I thought I was muted. I am the specialist for racial justice and Indigenous legislation, and I'm going to speak to you tonight about an act relative to celebrating and teaching Native American culture and history, H628-7444. This bill is sponsored by Senator Becca Rausch and Representative Jack Patrick Lewis. This would add curriculum standard of Native American history and contemporary issues, which we know has not been taught very much in the past. Topics would include tribal sovereignty and governance, treaty rights, genocide, Native American cultures, languages, and socioeconomic experiences, along with ongoing challenges faced by contemporary Native Americans in Massachusetts. And we know this can be different based on where you are. It would also cover educational standards developed in consultation with tribal nations to ensure accuracy and cultural relevance. I just wanted to say, make another statement that to please note that in Massachusetts public schools, students don't learn much, if anything, about Native American history. This was true in my own life and history. History specific to the region of contemporary Indigenous peoples who live in their state, including the Massachusetts, Nipmuc, Akina, Wampanoag, and Mashpee Wampanoag, and other bands of the Wampanoag, as well as any Native people in Massachusetts enrolled in tribal nations throughout the U.S. and Canada. This bill would require the development of curriculum in partnership with tribal nations in the Commonwealth to ensure that all children in the schools reach cultural competency in Native history, cultures, and current issues. And this is important for our children moving forward to learn more about other people that they share space with. Thank you.
Thank you, Felina. And now we'll turn it over to Jan Soma.
Hello there. So glad to be with you all. This bill is an act ensuring access to full spectrum pregnancy care. Last session, an omnibus maternal health care bill passed with many new benefits for pregnant people before, during, and after childbirth. And this is kind of something that would very much improve healthcare, but didn't make it into that omnibus bill. It's sponsored by Cindy Friedman, Senator Friedman, and Representative Lindsay Sabadosa. And it one of the things it does is mention or put into the law that midwives now are can be licensed providers for the first time in Massachusetts because the omnibus bill allowed them to be licensed, and that's happening now. It's very exciting because that helps give more people care, and it's lower cost care, and it's extremely good care. The outcomes are very good. So this bill will help pregnant people who, for prenatal, childbirth, and postpartum care, who cannot afford the cost, even though they have health plans. The cost of copays, deductibles, coinsurance, all of that can be very high. And many people just avoid getting the care because they can't afford it. Deaths, infant deaths, long-term poor health outcomes occur because people are not getting this care. The additional cost per month is about $1.29 per person per month. So it's not an outlandish cost. And if this passes, it's going to help communities of color and low-income people the most. Black pregnant people die at twice the rate in Massachusetts. It's higher in the rest of the country. But it's unacceptable to have these outcomes just because people don't have access to care. About 10% of people postpartum have depression, and a number of them commit suicide. That rate is going up, has gone up in the last 10 years. It's estimated that about 60% of maternal deaths are preventable. So more people getting care, better outcomes. So I'm excited about this bill. I hope you tell your legislators that you support it. On May 15th, by the way, I'm going to be giving, talking about some other bills and a Meet the Specialist event at noon on May 15th. And I'll talk about this one, but I'll also talk about many other bills that are in the women's issues agenda. So thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Great. So we've offered an overview of a couple of bills in each of the topic areas, just to give you a broad, some broad strokes about the bills we're covering this session. And now we wanted to share about ways you can take action. So you could attend a topic area briefing called Meet the Specialists, and I'll review those in a future slide. So upcoming is Medicare for All. Amy Cooper will host one on fairness for farm workers and immigration, and Jan Soma will be hosting one on women's issues and reproductive rights. You can join the Envoy program. You can become a specialist. As mentioned, we need one for natural resources, and we'd love to have you join the Legislative Action Committee and cover those bills. We want you to make sure to follow actions listed in the monthly action newsletter. That the next one's coming out on May 1st. You can respond to action alerts ramped up at key dates. And Fiona, if you'd be so kind to drop the latest action alert. So we did have an action alert a couple of weeks ago about contacting your legislators on 6 key bills we need to pass right away to defend against federal threats. And that was our latest action alerts. You can invite a specialist to speak on a topic who can offer ways to take action. If you have a monthly meeting or a board meeting or just like a lunch and learn, we'd love to come and talk to your local league. And you can join an issue area email group for updates. So if you're interested in any specific issue that we're working on, you're welcome to contact the specialist. If you want to drop your name, email, and the topic into the chat now, we're happy to set up, we try to send out alerts specific to bills that folks are interested in, and we're happy to have you on those lists. So the Meet the Specialist that we talked about. So when you receive this slide deck by PDF, you can just click the link and you can register directly. But as mentioned, Medicare for All, fairness for farm workers, and reproductive rights are coming up. And I know Caroline Ellis is planning one for gun violence prevention as well in May. And the legislative envoys, please reach out to Mary Cummings. I'll offer that contact information, but a legislative envoy program, which will be ramping up soon after the hearing season, is a great way to get really involved. You can develop a relationship with your legislators. So as the envoy, we like to get one per local league. You would attend local office hours, which happens about 1 to 2 times per year. You follow your legislators on social media, set up meetings for yourself in your local league, and you're taking, every time we issue an action alert over email, you're taking that direct action by reaching out to your state rep and state senator. It's a really great way to take action on state league legislative priorities by working with your legislators. And I know many of you are already in the program. Mary Cummings is our envoy coordinator, and her contact information will be in the slides as well. And we're looking forward to Day on the Hill this year. That's our league lobby day at the State House. It's going to be Thursday, September 18th. Mark those calendars. And we'll highlight 3 to 4 top priority bills for this session. And that's when we meet with legislators to discuss those top priorities and ask for their support. And contact information, as mentioned, and resources. So folks were not able to attend on Tuesday night. We had the pleasure of hosting State Senator Joan Lovely, who walked us through how the legislature works, and there'll be, we shared the links to that recording, and she was very appreciative of the league and how hard we work. So it was wonderful to hear from her. So it's worth your time if you missed it, and I'll stop share. And then Fiona, one more ask about the action alert. So just dropping that action alert for the SAVE Act. So we know that the LWVUS in that Diana Nguyen email today shared an action alert about the SAVE Act in the Senate. We certainly know that Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey definitely oppose the SAVE Act and would never vote for that, but it is a nationwide action alert. So if you just feel the need to take action at the federal level, I know I do, please, that action alert is available for folks to, it's just a one-click, it's going straight to Warren and Markey, and you just fill out a little information. You can customize it. It's a pretty easy tool to use. So now I wanted to open it up to questions. You have all these fantastic experts in their fields available to you. So if you'd like to pop your question, pardon me, in the chat, or you can raise your hand and come off mute to ask it. We'd love to hear from you.
Jen, there was a question in the chat on how we find the bills and get supporting done, the whole process, which I don't remember who asked, but I did see that one.
Okay, great. Let's see. Oh, great.
And I would answer that, except for I will keep talking.
Actually, it was it was about
Okay.
local bills. It was about local bills, Jen.
Oh, okay. You want
Carol Young Kleinfield's question.
Oh, great. Carol, do you want to come off mute and ask? Sorry, sometimes my laptop isn't showing all the questions in the chat.
Do you want me to read the chat questions
Sure,
for you, Jen?
that'd be great. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay,
Yes.
This is from Carol. Would you explain the process for seeking LWVMA approval to support a bill with only local or regional impact? And if a local received approval last session for a bill that didn't pass, must they ask again, or can they just consider it refiled and keep going?
Excellent question, Carol. There is a policy. We can drop that in the chat. I shared that with Sue. And yes, if it's a refile, you don't have to go through the whole process again. Once you support a bill, we support a bill, it carries through until it passes. But if you want to support a new bill, it's a several step process. You would get your board approval. I don't remember, my brain is a little bit of a fried egg right now, but we're happy to drop that policy in the chat. It's actually, Fiona, if you go to the advocacy drop down, it's in that last drop down.
You want me to read another one? Or you want to let Rosemary?
Sure, Rosemary.
Hi, I have 2 questions. The Massachusetts can you hear me?
Yes.
The Massachusetts legislative homepage has been slow to update the status of bills. Is there any way we can have them do a better job?
Sure, we could call the clerk.
They don't have it. Many times they don't have anything updated, and then I have to bother you guys or talk to you. But they've been very slow. Like they'll say it's here or it's there. They don't change the numbers. It's just it's
not
hard.
Not much is happening quite yet, Rosemary.
Right. Yeah, no, but I'm talking when things are really hopping,
right?
And all of a sudden, I don't know. It's hopping for them. I understand that, but I don't know who keeps up to date. Okay, I'll look into that. And then I have another question, because this is ignorance. Okay, just so everybody knows. But why do we call the pregnant people and not pregnant women?
Does anyone have, we'll leave it
Who's
to our
the-
experts.
Yeah,
Jan?
I can answer that. There's a
Thank
very
you.
small number of transgender people who
Oh,
are able to give birth,
Okay.
and that includes them.
Okay.
Awesome.
Just because I'd never heard of that before. So
Right.
thank you. No, that helps me. Thank you.
Jen, here's
Okay.
another one from the chat.
Sure.
From Pamela Dritt. Is it true that there are 1,000 people on death row in Massachusetts? I thought Massachusetts didn't have the death penalty.
I'll answer that, Jen, if you want.
Please.
There are 1,000 people in Massachusetts who are sentenced to life without parole. That's correct. We do not have the death penalty. We do not. The most stringent penalty in Massachusetts is life without parole. And some people think that we need, life without parole as it is to replace the death penalty because we don't have it. But really, when we had the death penalty, or when anybody has a death penalty, it's really a very small number of people who were on death row, and an even smaller number of people who were ever executed in Massachusetts, very small. But yet the number of people sentenced to life without parole is huge. So it's not like a one-to-one replacement.
And that bill calls for a hearing after 25 years, just a hearing after
Yes,
25.
just a hearing. Yes.
Got it. Palma, did you have a question or you want to make a comment?
Actually, I did want to make a comment. We keep talking about supporting bills, but there are bills that we do oppose. I know Nancy has had a few of them in terms of things like opposing voter ID. I've got 2 bills which are listed on the site that I oppose. I will say one thing when it comes to opposing bills, sometimes they actually are more complicated than actually supporting bills because we have to explain why it's a bad idea. And so but the league will oppose a bill as well. And once again, that actually does go back to the positions too.
Oh, thank you. Excellent.
Jen, here's another one out of the chat. I think it's the last one I see in there. Karen Epstein wants to know if anyone is following the Healthy Youth Act, which is the sex education bill. It's another
Jan,
one
take it away.
we've been following for 12, 15 years.
Oh my goodness, it's been around forever. Yes, we are following it. It passes in. It doesn't pass in the House. It always passes in the Senate, or pretty much lately unanimously in the Senate. It gets to the House and it just falls into oblivion. So we're keeping up the good fight. There was a rewrite of an excellent rewrite of the suggested curriculum that schools can use, but they don't have to use it. It's out there, and hopefully many of them are using it. But that's not good enough for me. I would like the Healthy Youth to pass because it will really benefit the youth of our Commonwealth.
Great. Tracy?
Hello, good evening, everyone. I just have a quick question on some of the voting acts that you highlighted. Was the first one, the same day registration, the only one that had sponsors?
Oh, no, they all had
Or
sponsors.
do
They all
they
had sponsors. Yes.
Is it the same people that are sponsoring all 3?
No.
Okay.
No, I can break that on into more slides. We're trying to keep it,
It was just getting
condense
long.
the info. So
But
if you go to,
if you go to the advocacy page and click on the bills, you'll get to the page with the sponsors. I can't remember who they are right now.
Oh, no, that's perfect. I was just curious. Thank you.
Oh yeah, the bills can't be introduced without sponsors.
Right. That's why I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
sorry for that confusion. That's my fault. I was trying to condense info. Yeah, if you go to the elections and voting section, and then on the left, you can just click on the bills. It'll take you to the MA legislature. Yeah.
Thank you.
Rosemary, you raised a good point about the bills being updated, because sometimes last session I would receive the notifications from Mass Track before it was updated on malegislature.gov. So you're right. So it's totally okay to bother us at all times with questions, because sometimes I receive the info from Mass Track first. So, let's manifest that it's updated in real time faster at the end of this 2-year session. That's a good point.
And Karen Epstein has put another one into the chat. She's
Great.
also asking, are we doing the Deaths with Dignity bill?
Yes, and the hearing was a couple of weeks ago, and you could read our testimony on our webpage. There's a link to the testimony that we submitted. Great. Any other questions? Oh, thanks, Fiona. She posted it in the chat. Awesome. Great. Well, it's 7:58. I appreciate all of your time and all of your hard work and all of your advocacy. So thank you very much, and good night. Take care. Thanks, everyone.